Think you know America's biggest state? You don't. Nobody does. Alaska is 663,000 square miles of geological madness, biological excess, and historical secrets that most Americans were never taught in school. This is a place where the ground beneath you is actively moving right now, where the sun disappears for 67 straight days, where an entire capital city has no road connecting it to the rest of the country, and where the United States government once bought the whole thing for 2 cents an acre and got called idiots for doing it. 50 facts, one state. And by the time we get to number 1, I promise you, you will never look at a US map the same way again. Here's what nobody tells you about Alaska. Most people file it away mentally as the cold one at the top of the map. Maybe they think about Sarah Palin, and maybe they think about the Iditarod, maybe they think about salmon, and that's it. File closed. But Alaska is not a single story. It's a place that contains genuine geological violence, ecosystems that contradict each other within the same state, a human history that stretches back over 16,000 years, and geography so outrageous it broke the concept of time zones. It's the only state where nature still genuinely wins, where roads are the exception, not the rule, where the land does what it wants and humans just try to stay out of the way. So here's what we're doing today. We're going to count down 50 absurd, mind-bending, logic-defying facts about the last frontier. We start at 50 and work our way to number 1, which I'm saving for last because it's the most staggering truth about Alaska that nobody says out loud. Stay with me. Coming up, we'll talk about the earthquake that literally moved a town 2.5 miles. We'll talk about a glacier bigger than Rhode Island. We'll talk about mudflats that look perfectly safe and will drown you in under an hour. And we'll talk about why this state, right now, today, is one of the last places in America where nature still holds the deed. Let's go. Number 50. The map. Prank. Alaska is not just the biggest state. It is the biggest state by a margin so enormous it stops being a competition. We're talking 663,000 square miles, roughly 1/5 the size of the entire lower 48 states combined. If Alaska were its own country, it would rank as one of the largest nations on Earth. It doesn't win the size contest, it ends it. And yet, and this is the part that messes with people, barely anyone lives there. We'll get to that, and trust me. Number 49, the compass killer. Here's something that will permanently break your sense of direction. Alaska contains both the easternmost and the westernmost points in the entire United States. How? Because the Aleutian Island chain stretches so far west, it actually crosses the 181st meridian, the international date line. In other words, part of Alaska is technically in the eastern hemisphere. The compass just gives up. East and west collapse into each other. Alaska loops the globe. Number 48, the subcontinent. Let's put Alaska's size into terms your brain can actually process. The state stretches 2,400 miles from east to west and 1,420 miles from north to south. For comparison, the distance from New York City to Los Angeles is about 2,800 miles. So Alaska is nearly as wide as the entire continental US is long. This is not a state. This is a subcontinent that we just happen to call a state for administrative convenience. Number 47. The shredded coast. Alaska's coastline runs approximately 47,300 miles. That is, and people always think this is an exaggeration until they look it up, longer than the entire rest of the United States combined, all of it. Every other state's coast added together still doesn't beat Alaska. Why? Because the coast of Alaska is not a smooth line. It is a shredded, fractured, fjord-cut, island-draped frontier where ocean and land have been fighting each other for millions of years, and neither one has won. Number 46, the empty giant. After hearing all that, brace yourself for the population density number. Alaska has about 1.3 people per square mile. For reference, New Jersey has over 1,200 people per square mile. And that means for every single person in Alaska, New Jersey is packing in roughly 900 more. There are places in Alaska where silence isn't just an absence of sound, it's a physical presence, something that presses in from every direction. In a country that has paved and subdivided and signed nearly everything, Alaska still has enormous blank spaces on the map. Number 45, the final boss of mountains. Denali stands at 20,310 feet and is the tallest peak in North America. But the raw height number doesn't capture what makes it genuinely mythic. Denali rises roughly 3,000 meters above most of the surrounding peaks. It doesn't share a ridge, it doesn't blend into a range. It dominates the entire horizon like the land appointed it ruler, and everything else agreed. Climbers call it the High One, a translation of its original Athabascan name. Standing at its base and looking up, you understand exactly why. Number 44, the park that ate other parks. Wrangell. St. Elias National Park is so large that Yellowstone could fit inside it 6 times over. At 13.2 million acres, it is the largest national park in the United States by a factor that makes all other parks feel like parking lots. Mountain ranges literally collide here. Glaciers swallow entire valleys, and you can travel for extraordinary distances without feeling like you've scratched the surface. This is not a park built for convenience. It doesn't have visitor centers every few miles. It is wilderness at full volume. Number 43, the rainforest. Nobody talks about You Think Alaska. You picture frozen tundra. You are not picturing the Tongass, covering nearly 17 million acres in southeast Alaska. The Tongass National Forest is the largest national forest in the United States and the largest intact temperate rainforest in the world. Dripping moss, giant Sitka spruce. Air so wet it feels like the forest is breathing directly onto your face. Alaska. The state most Americans mentally file under frozen contains a rainforest so massive it dwarfs anything else on the continent. Number 42, the wilderness, with the volume. All the way up. The Arctic National Wildlife Refuge is roughly the size of South Carolina. No roads, no established trails, no facilities. 19 million acres of wilderness that doesn't apologize for what it is. A NWR, as it's called, has been at the center of political debates for decades. Whether to allow drilling, what protections it deserves. Whatever your position on that debate, standing at the edge of that landscape and realizing what it is, intact, roadless, untamed, puts a lot of things in perspective. Number 41, the capital, with no exit. Juneau is the capital of Alaska. It is the seat of state government. Important decisions about one of the largest, most resource-rich places in North America are made here, and it has no road connecting it to the rest of the state or the rest of the country. You get to Juneau by plane or by boat. That's it. Imagine governing a place the size of Western Europe from a city that is itself geographically trapped between mountains, sea, and forest. That's what Alaska does, every single day. Number 40, Parpuf, the Sky Highway. 82% of Alaska's communities have no road access, none. The state compensates by operating 235 public airports, more per capita than almost anywhere in the world. And Alaska also has more registered pilots and aircraft per capita than any other state. In most of America, flying is a luxury. In Alaska, it's infrastructure. The sky isn't scenery here, it's the highway. Number 39, Seward's Folly, or the Deal of the Millennium. In 1867, the United States purchased Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million, 2 cents per acre. Critics mocked Secretary of State William Seward mercilessly. They called it Seward's Folly. Seward's icebox, a colossal waste of money for a frozen wasteland. Then they found the gold, then the oil, then the fisheries, then the strategic military position, then the 13 million acres of national park. 2 cents an acre. That's one of the greatest bargains in the history of human civilization, and it was called idiotic at the time. Number 38, 50,000 earthquakes a year. The Alaska Earthquake Center records an average of 50,000 earthquakes in the state every year. That's about 137 per day. Most are too small to feel. Micro tremors registering fractions of a point on the Richter scale, but the sheer volume tells you something important. The ground beneath Alaska is never still. It's loaded with pressure, constantly shifting, perpetually restless. This is not a place that sits quietly on the planet. This is a place the planet is still actively building. Number 37, the quake that rewrote the rules. March 27, 1964. Good Friday. A magnitude 9.2 earthquake struck Alaska, the most powerful ever recorded in the United States, the second largest ever recorded anywhere on Earth. It lasted approximately 4.5 minutes. For reference, the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, the one that leveled a major American city, lasted about 45 to 60 seconds, 4.5 minutes of that. The ground didn't shake, it convulsed, and when it stopped, Alaska was a different place. Number 36, and when a town had to retreat. The 1964 earthquake didn't just shake Alaska, it physically remade it. Near Turnagain Arm, sections of coastline dropped approximately 10 feet. The town of Girdwood had to pick up and move 2.5 miles up the valley because the ground it had been built on simply no longer existed in a usable form. Think about what that means. Not a flood, not a fire. The earth moved so violently beneath a town that the town had to admit defeat and walk away. Alaska humbles you on a geological time scale. Number 35, America's Kingdom of Fire. Alaska contains over 130 volcanoes and volcanic fields that have been active within the last 2 million years. About 90 have erupted within the last 10,000 years. More than 50 have erupted in recorded human history. Most of them are strung along the Aleutian Arc, a ring of fire that sits directly atop one of the most active tectonic boundaries on the planet. Alaska is not just America's cold giant, it is America's kingdom of fire, and several of those volcanoes are not dormant, they are resting. Number 34, the eruption that darkened. 3 days. In June 1912, Nova Rupta erupted in what scientists still consider the largest volcanic eruption of the 20th century. Anywhere on Earth. Ash shot more than 100,000 feet into the atmosphere. In Kodiak, 100 miles away, ash fell so thick that total darkness lasted nearly 3 days. The blast released roughly 30 times more magma than Mount St. Helens did in 1980. Alaska didn't just have a volcanic eruption, it detonated on a planetary scale, and most Americans have never heard of it. Number 33, the mountain. That's still exhaling in the Wrangell Mountains, those gorgeous snow-blanketed peaks that look like something out of a wilderness painting. Mount Wrangell is still quietly active. Steam vents near its summit continue to vent heat from deep inside the earth. So picture yourself flying over a range of snow-covered giants and realizing that one of the white peaks below you is still breathing, still alive, still deciding. Alaska doesn't let anything be fully finished. Number 32, 100,000 glaciers. Alaska has more than 100,000 glaciers, covering about 5% of the state's surface. That's not historical. That's right now today. Enormous sections of Alaska are being actively shaped by moving ice. Glaciers are not relics here, they're current events. And they behave in ways that are either beautiful or terrifying, depending on your perspective. Sometimes, both. Number 31, the frozen inland sea. The Bagley ice field is the largest subpolar ice field in North America, a sprawling expanse of ice that feeds some of Alaska's most colossal glaciers. From the air, it looks like a frozen inland sea. It extends across the St. Elias region with a scale that makes roads, towns, and human timelines feel completely irrelevant. The Bagley ice field has been there longer than any human civilization currently in existence, and it will likely outlast most of what we've built. When nature plays by different rules. Number 30, the glacier, bigger than Rhode Island. Malaspina Glacier is North America's largest Piedmont glacier, covering more than 1 million acres. That makes it larger than the entire state of Rhode Island. Most people think of glaciers as dramatic rivers of ice, impressive but contained. Malaspina is so massive that it's compared not to other glaciers, but to states. And it's in Alaska, because of course it is. Number 29, the glacier that attacks. Most of the world's glaciers are retreating, shrinking, apologizing for their existence under a warming climate. Hubbard Glacier didn't get that memo. Hubbard periodically surges forward far enough to block Russell Fjord entirely, essentially cutting off the inlet and creating a temporary lake behind a wall of moving ice. While the rest of the world's glaciers are politely stepping back, Hubbard is still out here rewriting the coastline. Number 28, the rivers that carry mountains. You've seen those eerie blue-gray glacial rivers, that milky, otherworldly color that doesn't look quite like water. That color comes from glacial flour. As glaciers grind over bedrock, they pulverize rock into particles so fine they stay suspended in meltwater and scatter light in that distinctive haze. In other words, Alaska's rivers are literally carrying mountains away grain by grain. Geology in real time flowing past you. Number 27, the ancient blue light. When you see that deep electric blue inside a glacier cave or in a calving iceberg, that color is not a reflection or a trick of the sky. It happens because dense, ancient glacier ice absorbs the red wavelengths of sunlight and transmits the blue. The ice is so compressed, so old, so dense that it filters light itself. When you step inside glacial ice, you are not just looking at frozen water. You are standing inside light that has been altered by centuries of compression. It is one of the most otherworldly things a human being can experience on this planet. Number 26, the hidden frozen world. Beneath your feet. Beneath roughly 85% of Alaska's surface lies permafrost, permanently frozen ground that in some places extends hundreds of feet deep. It's an invisible underworld of locked soil, trapped carbon, buried organic material, and ancient history. Much of Alaska is essentially built on a frozen foundation, and that foundation, it's starting to thaw. Which brings us to something genuinely haunting. Number 25, the drunken forests. When permafrost thaws, the ground loses structural integrity. Trees start leaning at erratic angles, tilting, stumbling, pointing in random directions, as their roots lose purchase in ground that used to be solid. Biologists call them drunken forests. And once you know what you're looking at, they're one of the most unsettling sights in the American wilderness. An entire forest that looks like it has lost faith in the earth beneath it. Because it has. Before we keep going, and if this is blowing your mind, hit subscribe right now. We do this every week. You don't want to miss what's coming. Number 24, the road the land took back in Denali National Park. So thaw-driven landslides at a location called Pretty Rocks have become so severe and so frequent that they permanently altered access along the main park road. A section of road that millions of visitors relied on had to be abandoned. Not because of budget cuts or bureaucracy, but because the land reclaimed it. That's the terrifying thing about Alaska. Even the routes humans carve into it are temporary agreements, and the land can revoke them at any time. Number 23, 80 days without darkness. In Utqiagvik, the northernmost city in the United States, summer brings approximately 80 consecutive days of sunlight. The sun circles the horizon, but never disappears. Midnight looks like late afternoon. Time loses its normal meaning. People hang blackout curtains in June to convince their brains that night exists. It is disorienting in a profound way. The human body evolved to use darkness as a reset button. Utqiagvik removes that button for almost 3 months. Number 22, 67 days without the sun. And then Alaska collects its debt. The same city that gets 80 days of continuous sun then goes 67 straight days without a sunrise. Not a short winter day, not a gloomy stretch. 67 consecutive days where the sun does not rise above the horizon. The sky goes from dark to slightly less dark and then back to dark. This is not weather. This is a completely different relationship with time, with light, with the basic rhythms that define human life. And people live there. Voluntarily, year-round. Number 21, the midnight sun. Baseball game. In Fairbanks, people don't fight the impossible light of summer, they celebrate it. Every year, on the summer solstice, The Fairbanks Gold Panners play the Midnight Sun baseball game, first pitch around 10:30 p.m., no artificial lighting, played entirely under a sky that glows like it's still afternoon. It's been a tradition since 1906. It's one of those only in Alaska moments where human culture doesn't resist the absurdity of the environment. It leans in, grabs a bat, and swings. The animals and waters are just as unhinged. Number 20, the Aurora capital of America. Fairbanks sits directly beneath the auroral oval, the band around the magnetic pole where the northern lights are most concentrated and most frequent. Stay 3 nights in Fairbanks during winter, actively chase clear skies, and your chances of witnessing the aurora reach somewhere around 90%. In most of the world, the northern lights are a bucket list event, a once-in-a-decade miracle if you're lucky. In Fairbanks, they're Tuesday. The night sky here is not a backdrop. It's a living electric cathedral. Number 19, when politics argued with the sun, and one Alaska's geography is so wide that nature called for 4 separate time zones across the state. In 1983, the state legislature said no. They compressed everything down to essentially 2 time zones, with about 90% of Alaskans living on Alaska Standard Time. The land wanted 4 time zones. Politics stepped in and told the sun to compromise. The sun, for once, went along with it. Number 18, the ocean that storms inland. At Turnagain, Arm near Anchorage, the tide doesn't gently flow in. During it charges upstream as a bore tide, a wall of water that can reach 6 to 10 feet high and race up the channel at 10 to 15 miles per hour. The ocean literally storms inland. The sound it makes, reportedly, reaches you before the water does. A deep, rushing roar from around the bend. Standing at Turnagain Arm during a bore tide event, watching the ocean decide it owns the land, is one of those moments you don't forget. Number 17, the mudflats that kill quietly. Here's the thing about Turnagain Arm that the tourism brochures don't always lead with. The mudflats at low tide look safe. They look like wet sand, flat, dark, benign. They are not. People have stepped out onto those flats, sunk past their ankles into the silt, and been unable to get free before the bore tide returned. Alaska's most dangerous moments are not always dramatic. Sometimes the landscape kills you, not by falling on you, but by quietly refusing to let you go. Number 16, the desert in the Arctic. The Great Kobuk Sand Dunes sit north of the Arctic Circle. That sentence alone should cause some cognitive dissonance. These dunes, some rising over 100 feet, make up the largest active dune field in Arctic North America. Caribou tracks cross the sand, snow-capped mountains frame the horizon, spruce forest lines the edges. It looks like someone dropped the Sahara into Alaska, and both environments just shrugged and agreed to coexist. It is one of the most surreal landscapes on Earth. Number 15, the rainforest inside the frozen state. Ketchikan in southeast Alaska averages about 165 inches of rain per year. For perspective, Seattle, famously rainy Seattle, gets around 37 inches. While Ketchikan gets more than 4 times that. It sits wrapped in Tongass temperate rainforest, where downtown is essentially a doorway into dripping ancient green wilderness. Alaska can freeze you solid in one region and soak you to the bone in another. It contains multitudes, aggressively. Number 14, the only state. With all 3. Alaska is the only state where all 3 North American bear species coexist. Black bears, brown bears, and polar bears, all 3 in the same state. For most Americans, spotting a single bear in the wild is a life event worth telling for years. In Alaska, bears are an environmental variable you account for. Someone designing a wildlife simulation turned every danger setting to maximum and called it Alaska. Number 13, Fortress of the Bears Admiralty Island, known as Kutsnuwu in Tlingit. Meaning Fortress of the Bears is home to an estimated 1,500 brown bears on a single island. That's a higher brown bear density than almost anywhere else on the planet. The island has trails, people hike them. They share the space with enormous, intelligent apex predators who've lived there for thousands of years. The bears were there first. They know it. And somehow, an uneasy peace holds. Number 12. The moose that shouldn't exist. Alaska moose are the largest moose subspecies in the world. Big bulls weigh up to 1,600 pounds and stand over 7 feet tall at the shoulder. These are not graceful, photogenic woodland creatures. These are walking walls of muscle and antler that move through their environment with the quiet confidence of something that has no natural predators it needs to worry about. Every year, more people are injured by moose than by bears in Alaska. The charismatic apex predator you need to worry about isn't always the one with the claws. Number 11. The red flood of Bristol Bay. Every summer, the sockeye salmon run in Bristol Bay produces one of the greatest wildlife migrations on the planet. Tens of millions of fish, some estimates put it in the hundreds of millions in peak years, come surging back through river systems that seem to boil with life. The river itself turns color. It feeds bears, it feeds eagles, it feeds entire ecosystems that evolved specifically around this annual red flood. And it has been happening here, on this schedule, long before any map had a name for Bristol Bay. Number 10, the fish that dresses for its finale. Sockeye salmon spend years in the ocean as sleek silver blue creatures. When they return to their home rivers to spawn and die, their bodies transform entirely, turning deep scarlet red, their heads going green, the males growing grotesquely hooked jaws. They dress for their final act like mythic creatures from a story older than any civilization. Alaska doesn't allow its wildlife to stay ordinary for long. Even death here is theatrical. Number 9. 30,000 national symbols. The bald eagle is the national symbol of the United States. Rare enough in most states that a single sighting stops people in their tracks. Alaska has an estimated 30,000 of them. They perch on harbor pylons. They circle fishing boats. They cluster around river mouths during salmon runs in numbers so large the trees turn white with them. In Alaska, the national bird stops being a symbol and starts being a neighbor. Number 8, half the world's fur seals. The Pribilof Islands, a remote archipelago in the Bering Sea, support the world's largest aggregation of northern fur seals, approximately half of the entire global population. These windswept, bog-shrouded islands feel like a place the planet built specifically for wildlife and only reluctantly allowed humans to visit. Some places in Alaska exist at a scale that makes the human presence feel like a footnote. Number 7, 3 million lakes. Alaska has over 3 million lakes. From the air, enormous sections of the state don't look like solid land at all. They look like shattered mirrors, broken reflections of sky, braided veins of water, winding through tundra and forest. The state is half liquid. The map itself seems to dissolve. 12,000 rivers, 3 million lakes, and a coastline longer than all other states combined. Alaska is not just large, it is fundamentally wet in ways that redefine what land even means. Number 6, the abyss beneath the Bering Sea. Jemchug Canyon sits beneath the Bering Sea off the Aleutian coast. It plunges more than 8,500 feet into the ocean floor, making it one of the deepest submarine canyons in the world, deeper than the Grand Canyon. It is a vast, lightless abyss beneath dark northern waters. Alaska's drama doesn't stop at the shoreline, it just continues downward into the dark. Number 5, the ghost towns the tundra is reclaiming. Inside Wrangell St. Elias National Park, the ghost towns of Kennecott, Chisana, and Bremner stand as preserved relics of a different Alaska. Kennecott especially, a copper mining operation that ran until 1938, left behind an almost perfectly preserved industrial ghost town. Mill buildings, worker dormitories, mine shafts, all slowly being reclaimed by the wilderness around them. These are the remains of people who pushed into one of the most remote places on Earth chasing fortune. Some found it, most left. And Alaska just quietly continued as it always had. Number 4, the threshold of civilization. During the last ice age, Alaska was connected to Siberia by a land bridge called Beringia, an exposed shelf of land that at its widest stretched nearly 1,000 miles north to south. Across that bridge, the first human beings walked into the Americas. North America has been inhabited for at least 16,500 years, possibly longer. Alaska was not the edge of the continent. It was one of its beginning points. The last frontier was, in a very real sense, the first frontier. Number 3. 10,000 years of knowledge. Alaska Native peoples have lived with these lands for over 10,000 years, long before any map had English names on it, before the gold rush, before statehood, before any pipeline. There were human beings here developing intricate, sophisticated knowledge of these rivers, ice patterns, animal migrations, weather cycles, and ecosystems. Knowledge that took millennia to build. Alaska is ancient not just geologically and ecologically, it is ancient culturally. The land carries layers of human memory that most people who visit never fully reckon with. Number 2, 20 voices, one landscape. Alaska is home to at least 20 distinct indigenous languages. Some sources count as many as 23. Yupik, Inupiaq, Tlingit, Haida, Tsimshian, Alutiiq, Athabaskan languages. Each one representing a distinct culture, a distinct relationship with a distinct piece of this vast landscape. Alaska is not one story told across one landscape. It is a chorus of homelands, memories, oral histories, and names layered over the same terrain. Every river, every mountain, every coastal inlet has a name that existed long before the names on our maps. Those names are still being spoken. Number 1, Alaska is still unfinished, and now we're here. Number 1. The fact I've been saving. It's not any single mountain. It's not any one earthquake or eruption or glacier. It's not the size, the coastline, the volcanoes, or the bears. It's something bigger than all of those things. Alaska, right now today, in the 21st century, still feels unfinished, with 1.3 people per square mile. With 82% of communities inaccessible by road, with hundreds of thousands of square miles of terrain that has never been meaningfully mapped at ground level, with ecosystems that still operate on their own terms, with cultures and languages and oral traditions still being maintained in communities where the nearest highway might be hours away by small plane. In a country that has paved nearly everything, fenced nearly everything, named nearly everything, measured nearly everything. Alaska still resists. The roads don't win here. The development doesn't fully take. The wilderness doesn't retreat politely to national park boundaries and stop there. It keeps going and going and going. You can look at a map of Alaska and think it's filled in. All the lines are drawn, all the names are written. But stand anywhere in that state, on a gravel bar next to a glacial river, on a hillside above a roadless valley, on a beach where the nearest town is an hour by float plane. And the map stops making sense. The feeling of mystery doesn't leave, it just gets deeper. In a nation that has paved and named and measured nearly everything, Alaska still feels bigger than our ability to contain it. And that defiant, impossible, irreducible wildness is the most absurd fact of all. From a coastline longer than all other states combined, to the earthquake that moved a town, to glaciers that could swallow Rhode Island, to 80-day summers and 67-day winters, to forests that get drunk on thawing ground, to dunes in the Arctic, to the land bridge that brought the first Americans home, Alaska doesn't behave like a normal state. And it behaves like several worlds compressed into one. It is wetter, taller, emptier, older, geologically younger, and more stubbornly itself than logic says one place should be allowed to be. The last frontier isn't a nickname, it's a warning and a promise. All right, 50 facts. Which one genuinely surprised you the most? Was it the earthquake that moved an entire town? The glacier bigger than Rhode Island? The 67-day polar night? Drop it in the comments. I want to know which one broke your brain. And if you're the kind of person who likes knowing things most people don't, hit subscribe. Because next week we're going somewhere else in this country that nobody talks about enough. You're going to want to be here for it. Video's already on the screen. Keep watching.